World Combat Sports. Hello, everyone, and thanks once again for tuning in to World Combat Sports Media. We have a lit show today, various topics that's boiling over in the media airwaves, and I'm going to bring it to you right from here in ATL. The only way you know how to do it, you know how to get it, and understand just to tune in and listen. Simple. We're going to kick this off with the one and only Wilder versus Fury 2 debate by BT Sports. So for those of you that's tuned in while I'm up here frolicking around and playing, being jovial in the evening, smash that like button, smash the thumbs. You know what I'm saying? As we kick this off. So if you haven't already seen, man, it was a debate, a roundtable. BT Sports, set it all up. And I like that they did a roundtable to give some light to this fight. If I was in a different location, not to put it out there too much, but I kind of did similar to what they're doing when I was in NYC with some other media. Shout out to Jackal Fitness, AWD. You know what I'm saying? I try to kind of give that energy and put it in the air to talk to other media while we all in the same location about their thoughts on boxing. So as much bias as it was in this Wilder versus Fury debate, it's kind of a positive standpoint. They actually put it together. You had Derek Hay on there, John Fury, the father of Tyson Fury. Yeah, Paulie Malignaggi. And, the other two gentlemen. And from my understanding, right, I'm just going to be frank. Of course, coming from BT Sports, majority of what the topic of discussion was going to be was going to bleed heavy to Tyson Fury. They want to build this up as much as possible. And I can't say it was extremely the hammer to the head, you know what I'm saying, of bias talking about, Tyson Fury, because at first it was his mental illness when he came back. So when he came back, he was losing all this weight. He fought Sefa Safari and Francisco Pianetta, right? And then when he stepped in there with Deontay Wilder, he was talking about he's in the best shape of his life. He's good to go. He feels great. He put out all that energy in the press tour, him and Deontay Wilder, going back and forth, just verbal sparring every time you turn around to kind of feed that high end energy to the crowd to hype the fight up, because it was a big deal, right? And that's what they did. He didn't look sluggish, lethargic. He didn't look under the weather. He didn't seem to be anywhere less than 100% heading into that fight. So all of a sudden they go in here after he had faced Tom Schwartz and Otto Whalen. He's going back in here after not taking an immediate rematch, right? They trying to say the man was 50%. They trying to say he, at the weight he was at, he just wasn't able to get it done. You know what I'm saying? And now they're trying to sit up here and promote and somehow sell us that Tyson Fury is a power puncher in the making, just with several months off a WWE win over Braun Strowman. They're trying to convince us. They're trying to sell ice to an Eskimo, right? They're trying to convince the boxing fans that what we've seen in the 4 fights, we're going to exclude Deontay Wilder's fight. In the 4 fights upon his return from years of hiatus, overweight, all the media attention. You trying to tell me that he wasn't 100% going into that fight when it's a lot of you out there saying he won the fight? So if he had his way as you all are making it, and he did well, and he was able to get up from the knockdown, right? Tyson Fury arose from the knockdown in the 12th round. I'm talking about strictly the 12th round. It was the most brutal. So he arose, and now the narrative is he was only around 50% because him switching up to Stewart over at Crunk, he's gonna addition some extra stones. Suppose he's gonna come in at 19 stones. You know what I'm saying? Around 266. So if that's the case, he's gonna gain weight because he wants more power. Why hasn't he did that? Why haven't he went through the extreme like this to spin himself up to be much more of a devastating boxer until now? Why all of a sudden, if Deontay Wilder, has been said over and over again in the preamble that fundamentally he falls far short of Tyson Fury, why haven't you made these changes before? If Ben Davison, right, got you to the dance and you was able to go 3 rounds at the weight and condition you was at, just like Andy Ruiz, Manny Robles, he was able to get Andy Ruiz up to the dance and won the titles, right? And then all of a sudden, you want to fire the man? You want to fire Manny Robles because you came in there overweight? Like, no one can control a fighter at the end of the day. No one can sit up here and say, well, we try to take the fork out of Ruiz's hand, but he just kept on, going through the same motion, scooping. We couldn't do nothing about it. So how you gonna come over here and say I'm firing Ben, picking up Stewart, and we're gonna see an absolutely like a home renovation, re-energized, reformed, as if Tyson Fury has been this X-Men. You know what I'm saying? Like he's just been in the laboratory the whole time. He's been experiment. They was really talking on BT Sports like Tyson Fury is gonna present knockout power. He's gonna do it in such a way that he's gonna overwhelm Deontay Wilder with the addition weight. He's gonna come in there with those stones in his gloves, and he's gonna be able to systematically break down Wilder, fight him on the inside, and get the knockout in 2 rounds. One thing I can say about the Fury, him and his dad can tell great stories. You know what I'm saying? All you have to do is just sit back and listen. Like, they really convince the ears that are leaning heavy towards this fight. They're really convincing them that if Tyson Fury say he can knock Deontay out in 2 rounds, and he hasn't been able to do that really with any other fighter leading up to this point. He took the titles from Vladimir Klitschko in one of the most boring fights you will witness, but intelligent wise, it's boxing. He did what he had to do, right? I just felt that David Haye, a previous sparring partner of Deontay Wilder, he was the one giving honest assessments to his feedback. You know what I'm saying? I had to salute David Haye, a guy that, had a video going around that he had knocked out Deontay Wilder in sparring. But then in the interview, he was like, they really didn't show the entire video, whether someone was knocked out in sparring or not. As a professional, you have one that is in the sport and one that is out. One with an undefeated record and one that doesn't. So you have to really put that into consideration. I had I wouldn't even call it a boxing dialogue today. It's just when you put up these posts and you support fighters, and you support a lot of fighters, right? People tend to home in on black media supporting a black heavyweight champion. They almost act like that's supposed to be a different law. You're supposed to get permission. You're only supposed to have a certain amount of quota that you have to post, and then that's it. You can't put more than what you're supposed to those individuals because they feel that you're overdoing it. But it's not even that way. Like David Hay said what he had to say. Paulie Malignaggi has taken some heat, for being overcritical of the first fight, because that's what Paulie is, man. I would rather Paulie give his honest assessment. People say that all the time. I'd rather you keep it 100% authentic than come over here and just fabricate something that's not true. We say that all the time. If it doesn't lead back to us, you know what I'm saying? If you're gonna have Paulie on, have him on, because I don't think Paulie's any different than Stephen A. Smith, to be honest. Paulie Malignaggi, he'll sit up here and speak from the cuff, and that's why they put him on there, because of his knowledge and the way he delivered commentary. That's why Stephen A. Smith is what he is, two of the best at what they do. But Paulie Malignaggi, when asked certain questions about the fight, he gave his honest assessment on what he thought of the first fight. A lot of people saying that Deontay Wilder was all wild. They continue to put that cliche. They continue to frame that, right? But they take a fighter being wild from a fighter who was missing. You know what I'm saying? Give it up to Tyson Fury. He was making Deontay Wilder miss when the opportunity presented itself. You know what I'm saying? Wilder did miss, but also he did land. He did throw more punches than Tyson Fury did. You have to credit him something. It's just not like he was standing up in the ring and he was just running around with his hands circling 360 trying to land a bolo punch. That wasn't even the case. He was out there doing more than that. But the roundtable discussion was more so centered around John Fury convincing the viewing audience that his son is in a different type of condition. He had to make changes and go to a new camp. The way he's going to come in there much heavier, he's going to have way more power. He's going to be much more of a threat to Deontay Wilder early on in the fight. And that in itself is going to present a deleterious situation to lead up to him potentially knocking out Deontay Wilder. And listen, when John Fury speaks, he speaks as if this is already came into fruition. That them Furies, man, them gypsies, they speak as if it's already upon us. You know what I'm saying? They talk it up real nice. They spin the web and everything. They talk as if every bit of what they're saying, they believe wholeheartedly. They do not speak with hesitation on any of that. They tell the story as if it's a nonfiction reality. Like, this is what I'm predicting. It's just funny, man. It's hilarious just listen to them talk. But on the other hand, the way I look at it too, it's like at least he's up here trying to convince everyone to tune into this fight, and that his son Tyson Fury is going to come in a much different fighter this time around, and he's going to get the win. Like, John Fury was just adamant about telling the story. You could not tell that man anything. Even when David Hay was trying to say that Deontay Wilder was the heaviest puncher he ever faced, he was like, well, you're a cruiserweight. But David Hay was like, no, I've been hit by some pretty big guys, and I'm telling you, he's the hardest puncher that I ever felt. Deontay hope he wins, and them English will shut up. I want them to talk. I want the English to continue to talk. It's boxing. Like, what they say don't bother me, because I'm just going to retain it and then reverberate it over the mic, the airways, whatever, because they are some talkative individuals. It's a bit funny. You really can't get all emotional about what they do, But they are constantly in the media, standing in front of the lens, and they are mouthpieces. They allow their lips to continue to move, and they some of them really don't care what they're saying. But if over here in America, they would come for your head. They would say, "What are you talking about, man? You coming here just rambling on and talking about certain things." You have people showing up at your door like, "What was that you said today? Why you ain't supporting our champs?" Listen, the U.S. have a multitude of champs. We've seen it all before, right? But when you hear them have this debate over BT Sports, and it was more so leaning to bolster Tyson Fury. It wasn't too much in there to highlight Deontay's Wilder performance in their last outing. Kind of what they left out, in my opinion, was him not taking an immediate rematch. For American champions Deontay Wilder not being suited to face a fighter like Tyson Fury, I just didn't hear them come up with a solution as to why he just didn't go in there and clean house. Why Deontay Wilder threw more punches than Tyson Fury? Why was he on his back reclined under the lights? Why wasn't he smart enough to say, I know how much power this man possesses. I felt it already early in the fight. So why I'll keep my distance, be smart, intelligent, and use my ring generalship and stay on the outside. Because it wasn't that easy. It wasn't like Wilder was standing in one spot, flat-footed. He was really trying to land a combination or land a punch that's going to be effective enough to knock Tyson Fury out. You just can't say the man has a right hand, but yet he continues to land it. You have to addition ring IQ. You have to give him some type of FICO. You know what I'm saying? Give him another FICO to his ring accreditation, man. You have to continue to say, well, he has a right hand, but yet he's smart enough to know when and what to do with it. That's all I'm trying to say, man. I don't get into that. I'm not sure. This is the first time I've seen you on here, but I'm not gonna regurgitate that because that's not the way I feel. I'm a huge critic of Anthony Joshua, but that doesn't mean I dislike the UK. You can't push that narrative off on World Combat Sports. That's just not something that's gonna happen. You want to talk about boxing, cool, but ask anybody. I never really had no favor for Joshua. Anyway, back to what I was saying about Tyson Fury. Going into this fight, I'm glad BT Sports did the round table. It would be great if we can get a round table like that over in the US and get some opinions from some notable faces that's in the sport of boxing. I'm pretty sure they would probably pick some individuals like SOG, Andre Ward, Brian Custard. Um, they will select some individuals that's been there before and won't be overly outrageous and calling the way it is down the middle. Because when it comes to the sport of boxing, it's hard for people to just call it down the middle. It's just difficult. But with BT Sports, I felt they was, standing in ranks for Tyson Fury. And I mean, come on, don't act like it's not going to be something that obvious. John Fury, the father, was on deck. So of course, some of them probably wanted to say much more, but they know they will have to deal with John Fury, who isn't going to hold any punches when it comes to being braggadocious about his son. It's just not going to happen. It's almost like if you close your eyes, you're talking to the same person. Seriously, that blood runs deep. You know what I'm saying? So listen to John Fury tells the story on what his son's gonna do, how he was the first fight, and talking about Deontay Wilder. He won't be able to handle it with his with the size of his legs, and just physically critiquing in a critical way as he was. It just goes to show you they may not be as confident as we believe. John Fury may not be. He may just be putting up a facade to pretend like everything's okay with him switching trainers and everything, and it's gonna be cool. But in no way, shape, or form, if you're going in there with the person with 43 fights and he hasn't been defeated, he's 42 victories, 41 KOs, and 0 defeats. You have to have some type of concern about stepping in there if you did not take an immediate rematch. You didn't take an immediate rematch, period. Paulie Malignaggi, he might be catching some backlash from what he said earlier, and it's all about who you know in this sport, and people will try to blackball you and freaking banish you from certain situations. I see it. I feel it. I know what's going on. Boxing is an annual sport, but yet, they say I want you to keep it real, and then when you keep it real about the wrong person, if they on a different platform than you are, then they attempt to freaking try to lower the scale a little bit and keep you isolated and keep you from the big events. That happens in sports across the board. And I think that's what's going on with Paulie Malignaggi, but he'll be okay though. He would be okay. That's who he is. And in one voice, you always hear people say, I'm glad so and so speaks his mind, speak her mind. And they're very authentic people, genuine. But then if it affects the wrong person who has a certain amount of power, then they come around here and act like someone just violated the unwritten code. You know what I'm saying? Like you see out here with Gayle King and Snoop. Anyway, it's going down regardless next week. It's going to be one of the biggest fights of the year. And I just can't wait to see it pop off. A lot of questions are going to be answered at the MGM. Next, to Alexander Usyk, Derek Chisora. The fight has been pushed back because Usyk is injured, right? This man comes up to heavyweight, but he can't even get himself enough band-aids to enter the ring so he can compete. You know what I'm saying? We've been waiting. All the hype, you, former cruiserweight champion, coming into the heavyweight division, and you're supposed to be the big deal, hanging out with your BFF, Vasily Lomachenko. So they're giving this man an open door policy. They brought him over to the heavyweight division and popped him up in the ranking system so he can automatically get that title shot. Easy. No climbing the ladder for Usyk. They put him up the top, and they're trying to make this man a heavyweight champion. You know what I'm saying? They really trying to make this man a heavyweight champion. And do y'all know Sean Porter defeated Alexander Usyk in the AMs? that's hilarious. That just goes to show me that when he run into the right one in the heavyweight division, he gonna catch that L again. But that's what we're looking at. The fight was supposed to go down in March, and now it's been pushed back to May. So in case you was wondering, that's what it is. The fight's been pushed back because Usyk is freaking injured at the time. Another point of concern is out there, and I mentioned this earlier before it even came out on my live. I said Joshua is a giver. He want to give to the point where when it comes down to him fragmenting the belts, he's going to do it to the right person so he can come back around and collect it. That's what Joshua's going to do. And from what I'm hearing, he may indeed vacate his WBO title. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, Joshua's going to do anything and everything, man, not to hold on to all the belts. But he's hoping and praying that the 22nd of February, that title change hands, so he can run to Eddie Hearns and the powers that be to say, do anything you have to make this fight with Tyson Fury. I will tell you right now, I truly don't and would never bet that Anthony Joshua can defeat Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is just too smart of a fighter. He can play around with Anthony Joshua like he did Vladimir Klitschko if he really wanted to do it. But it's up to the paycheck that he's going to receive if he was in that position, and will he stick by the honor code? That's all I'm saying. But like I'll tell anybody, I don't see Tyson Fury going back in here, regardless of him being 19 stones and defeating Deontay Wilder next week. I don't see it. It may be a good fight, all right? But if you look at the history of the opponents that Deontay Wilder had faced the second time, he wasn't kicking rocks and playing hopscotch. You know what I'm saying? This wasn't an easy determination on what the outcome going to be. You know, you just can't say Tyson Fury is going to go in there and he's going to run over Deontay Wilder because he's at Crunk Gym now. He's rejuvenated and he has a whole different skill set. They said the same thing about Joshua. Joshua went up there and fragmented his team, released some people. And then he comes in there to an overweight Andy Ruiz and didn't look any better than he did the first time. And he was just able to hit a lethargic center line stationary target as Ruiz and keep his distance. It wasn't anything special. It's just the fact that was the game plan they came up there with, because they know freaking Ruiz was just leaving the Snicker buffet. That's all that was. But I can guarantee you Wilder's not going to come in here overweight. You know, he's been knocking out cats considerably underweight for the heavyweight division. So he comes in here 225 or whatever for this next fight with Fury. We'll see what it is. It should be well enough for him to go in there and compete famously and get this job done. But Tyson Fury, it's amazing how he can come up with different stories, you know, on now saying that he wasn't in the best health, you know, dropping all that weight. So, you know, he used to weigh a lot and then he dropped all that weight, you know, to come back in front of the cameras and, you know, almost act like it was the biggest loser. He wanted people to really gravitate to him and say, you know what, look what I've done. I came back here, I lost all this weight, and I'm ready to become your world champion. That's what I'm ready to do. And he go in there and do a steady job with facing the best heavyweight in the game. Okay. He didn't go in there and look sloppy. You know what I'm saying? He didn't go in there and just say, well, I've been out the sport so long, because he had already had 2 fights before that with the kiss in the post fight. You know what I'm saying? He had 2 soft touches. I'm talking about hot marshmallow soft before he faced Deontay Wilder in his 3rd fight back. And now you're telling people you was only 50%? It's crazy, man. Bruce Lee said if they talk about resumes with Wilder, if he fights the same fighters AJ fought, they will be called nobodies, quick KOs. Vladimir, maybe a challenge. If Deontay Wilder fought Vladimir off a hiatus, and of course, you know, you're talking about just take for instance, if Deontay Wilder would have fought Vladimir Klitschko the way that Tyson Fury fought Vladimir Klitschko, would you have given him any credit? Because right now they don't give Wilder credit for going in there for the knockout. They just say he's a windmill puncher and he has power. So with that one punch, and Deontay Wilder said he only has to be good for 2 seconds, that's what they run with. Now, if you take Anthony Joshua, who selected Vladimir Klitschko for Wembley Stadium so they can sell it out, because the only way they was going to sell out Wembley is if they had Vladimir, because people still, they love, they love the Klitschko brothers. So he got him off a hiatus, not to win the title, but to come in there and be a worthy opponent for the audience and have that title fight. Unfortunately, Vladimir found it just a little bit too easy to defeat Joshua. Like, he found it just a tad bit easy to become champion again. Because that night he could have very well became champion again, but that wasn't the plan of attack. That wasn't the mission. They didn't give him the order to go in there and win the title. They just gave him the order. You're talking about a fighter who's in retirement, basically. He was just supposed to go in there and make the fight interesting, entertaining. And he ended up going in there, putting Joshua on all fours. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just crazy to think of. People want to talk about resumes and say Deontay has fought none but cans. But then the only person that you want to take a look at for Anthony Joshua, right? You want to say, well, he fought Klitschko, and then he went 7 rounds with Dominic Breazeale, who Deontay Wilder knocked out in 2 minutes, 17 seconds. He hasn't fought White yet, because White is just like the stepchild of the heavyweight division, the step play cousin, man. He's a Rodney Dangerfield of heavyweight division right now. He's getting no love. But if you take the people that's on Anthony Joshua's resume, and Deontay Wilder goes in there and knock him out, because at one point in time before Joseph Parker, now all they was talking about is how many wins he had and how many knockouts, right? And people was like, look at Joshua. He haven't went the distance. He has just as many wins as he does knockouts. He will be an absolute problem, a massive problem for Deontay Wilder. And then I'm like on here, this is in 2018. I'm like, Anthony Joshua was not that good of a fighter. Extremely robotic, predictable, and his chin is seriously questionable. I mean, people just didn't want to take into consideration, rather, the way he went in there against Carlos Takam. They didn't want to take in consideration on how that fight was playing out. Carlos Takam was fighting Anthony Joshua, who just about outweighed him by 20 pounds. From what my understanding was, the fight was scheduled for 235, and Joshua came in at like 254. You know what I'm saying? And still he really wasn't dominating Carlos Takam. When he knocked him down with that right, Carlos got right back up. He's good. But early in the fight, he was trying to say he got poked in the eye, and the referee was like waving his hands like, oh, you don't want to fight no more? Like he didn't understand English. Oh, you didn't want to fight? That was just blatant pretentiousness right there. That was blatant malicious. They was trying to stop the fight maliciously and not even give a damn about Carlos Takam. Not until Joseph Parker went the distance. That was the first time that Anthony Joshua went the distance. And even then, the referee was just intervening, refused to allow Joshua to engage in any type of physical contact for a long duration of time. And then you saw Anthony Joshua rip the tape off his glove and go back and take his own time out. Like, who does that shit, man? Anthony Joshua does. That's not the first time he did that in the fight either. But when he came over here to the US and he spit his mouthpiece out, aka gum shield, it didn't sit well, right? You couldn't get over with that to buy more time. The Boxing King, what's good? What's good? World Combat Sports people back then in the first fight was saying that Tyson Fury should have had 8 tune-up fights before fighting Wilder. I was really looking forward just for anybody of worthy, reputable boxing skills to get in there with Deontay Wilder, because it's, even though boxing is an annual sport, you have a black heavyweight champion that's is going on his eighth defense, his ninth defense, and all this, right? And then when the conversation anchors on the surface of the media, individuals want to say the same thing. Just like the negotiation was going on with the 12.5 flat, the 15 flat, and they was trying to say, well, that's more than what Deontay Wilder ever made in his boxing career. They was trying to jettison the fact that it was a bit disrespectful, but they kept on saying the same thing. They kept on saying the same thing. And then, Joshua got on the mic without permission and want to talk about, give me 50 million tomorrow and we'll fight. And the 50 million, boom, nothing. So of course, Team Wilder aborted the mission. And Eddie Hearns and Joshua was playing around like they was coming over to NYC with a contract. The contract was signed by Eddie Hearns, but the details was never verified with Shelly Finkel and Lou DiBella. It was just one of those farce, the play and dangle the media. You know what I'm saying? So, with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, man, I was just happy that it was a fighter that people over here in the U.S. can gravitate to, and him stepping in there once again, challenging himself. So when the conversation comes up again, people can't say, well, look at his record, he ain't fought nobody. How can they continue to say the same narrative, man? Every time you hear them banter this negativity, they will sit up here and halo Tyson Fury's record when he's fighting undersized fighters on his return. Listen, this is not difficult to comprehend. This isn't something that's out of the ordinary that you never heard before. It's not an unwritten language. If you're going to sit up here and overlook the fact that Tyson Fury won the titles, never defended a single title, popped for drugs and pads, but yet he can come back with a mental illness story and everybody's just gravitate and say, oh, give me a hug, Tyson. Just please give me a hug. I feel your pain. They want to act like this man the king and his first opponent is Sefer Safari, who he plants a nice wet London kiss on. You know what I'm saying? Then Francisco Pianetta. Who again? Francisco Pianetta. What? Tom Swartz, huh? You get up here and go into a tougher fight than it should be with Otto Wallen? Get cut. Then while the cut is healing, you go over here to a choreographed wrestling entertainment and pick up a few wrestling tips, get some impromptu wrestling training and go in there against Braun Strowman until your cut heals up. And then you return and say, okay, now I'm ready for Deontay Wilder. Let's get it done. I got to find another storyline to go into. So now that the narrative is he was 50%, he wasn't in the best shape. He feel that, he'll have more power from what I'm guessing. And what a lot of people say, they really haven't seen Deontay Wilder fight on the inside. So I'm guessing Tyson Fury going to try to get within range and get close and fight on the inside with Deontay Wilder because he feel he's the better boxer technically, and he's going to try to get on inside the range of Deontay Wilder so he can't, to smother his power a little bit. So he can't have that extension on the gun. He can't pull that cannon out and squeeze off. That seems like the plan to me. That seems like what's going on with Tyson Fury, that they're going to get in close and they're going to try to lay on him and zap Deontay Wilder's energy, deplete him, degrade his health, try to land some punishing shots. But if they looked at the freaking, spun the reel just a little bit more, Who has hurt him on the inside? Who hasn't had that plan? Spilker was landing on Deontay Wilder, and he damn near died. Luis Ortiz was landing on Deontay Wilder. I mean, come on, man. Like, you think Luis Ortiz was fighting just at range when he landed that shot that buzzed Deontay? He wasn't. He got in close enough to land his power shot, and for 41 seconds, he was able to deliver. Period. Chris Ray, what's up? What's up? I appreciate that, man. Salute to you. Deontay Wilder knocked Tyson Fury out in the first round. Thank you. Deontay Wilder's a Lion King in the boxing. Hit the like, blessings. I'm out. Appreciate that, Chris Ray. Thanks for dropping through, my brother. Real talk. But I just want to hear more than, if you support Deontay Wilder, why you support him. What about his skill set drives you to gravitate to him? And then if you support Tyson Fury, the same manner for which which I said describe Deontay Wilder, do it for Tyson Fury. Why are you supporting Tyson Fury? What does he bring to the table to say, okay, he's the better fighter? Because I know damn well some of these media is going to get out here and ride the fence. They're gonna go off the last freaking performance, the previous performance, and they just don't want to commit to Deontay Wilder because they want to be the ones to get back on here come Saturday night and Sunday and say, I told you Tyson Fury is going to take the belt. I told you. But see, with me, I don't sit up here and prognosticate anything. If I go for a fighter, any fighter, that's who I'm going for specific reasons in my assessment. I don't sit up here and say, well, potentially if Tyson Fury comes in there 19 stones and he's able to lay on Deontay Wilder the first half of the fight and able to land some punishing blows, really get Deontay's attention to change up his game plan, that may indeed work out for him to put away rounds early. Because Deontay said himself, and we know as fight fans, that Tyson Fury is not a power puncher. He just isn't. You know what I'm saying? And boxing has his gloomy days, man, of anarchy, where people always want to put conspiracy theories in the sport of boxing because it has been fights that's gone a different way. And you're like, how in the hell that fight went that way? It can't be real. Like the Canelo and Sergey Kovalev fight. When Bruce Seldon barely got hit with a punch and went down. How can Tyson Fury all of a sudden have power coming from WWE back to boxing and changes camps? You know what I'm saying? Change a different coach. And now all of a sudden adding weight. You was damn near 400 pounds when you was out of the sport, right? So why you just didn't, Jarrell Miller competes over 300. Why you just didn't come in over 300 pounds and use that same mentality to split the ropes and go in there and handle business? Don't go in there and fight and then say, oh, well, I just didn't feel myself. I was at 50% and all this other stuff. I just didn't have the power that I was looking for. But goddamn it, coming in at 19 stones, that is the magic number. The number 2 and the number 19. That's what I'm looking forward to. That's what Tyson's saying. What's good? What's good? Retro for Life 79 Boxing. Salute to you, man. You on tonight. Enjoy your content as always. Greenleaf, cheers. Appreciate it. Salute to everybody that's dropping in. Real talk. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna leave Deontay Wilder and come back to it, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, because I really want the media to pick a side, because I know media, they'll put a title up here drawing people in And really, when you actually inside and listening, they refuse in this particular fight. They refuse to pick a side. Like, if you're not gonna pick either fighter to win, then say, okay, I'm just gonna leave that alone. But if you are gonna pick one with conviction and maintain that commitment and just ride with it. Win or lose, just ride with it. If you picking Tyson Fury, pick Tyson Fury. Don't pick Deontay Wilder and then say, well, if Tyson Fury, is able to take him into the later rounds and stay away from the right hand, it ain't gonna be none of that this fight. Come back to the channel and we can talk about it. But when fighters are entering to square off a second time, these fights aren't the same as they were the first time around. Come on, you'd be absolutely delusional to believe that this fight is going to be Deontay Wilder coming in there throwing the same variance of the same volume of punches and then with the same results looking for a late knockout. The performance that you got with Luis Ortiz was just a point of reference, man, just to show that he was going to be patient and he knew he had the power. He seen the opening. And when it came time to let Luis Ortiz down swiftly, he did that in the 7th round. It's somewhat the same performance we seen with Sean Porter and Yadinas Ugas. Sean Porter looked bad in that fight. He looked bad. Like, that's the game plan that him and Kenny Porter came up with. But what happened when he faced off with Errol Spence? He just didn't pick up that tenaciousness. Sean Porter already had it. Deontay Wilder could have went hard at Luis Ortiz. But you know what? People came to see the fight, man. You didn't see him just winging shots early on. I was looking at the fight through my camera lens. He was just patient, staying in low gear, just buying time, looking for the openings. And then you kind of felt the energy. You kind of felt the movement increase a little bit. And when he started to set Ortiz up by throwing that touch jab up there, and then what JD said was a blind 2, where he pulled his jab and shot the 2 down the middle, it was lights out, done, over. And right before that happened, Teddy Atlas, I was up there talking to some people, and I was like, here we go. Teddy Atlas has said Deontay Wilder flaws are showing right before freaking Luis Ortiz got knocked out. I think he might have said that in the 6th round, because a lot of people say, oh, Deontay ain't won a round. So when Teddy Atlas, sent that out, he was like, well, Deontay flaws are showing. Boom. Game over. Ortiz was baptized. And people have the wrong perception about baptism, but baptism is not saying when you go in the water and come back out, you're a different person. And you know what? Ortiz was baptized again. Alex, I just came to say good luck to both fighters on the night. I'm going with Team Fury. Peace and God bless. That's what it is, man. You come in here and say you're going with Team Fury, man. Who am I to stop that? It's just, if it was any type of trolling to say I'm going with Team Fury because he's going to go in there and knock out Deontay in 2 rounds, all of a sudden, we just have we have a discretionary part where we would just have debate for just a tad bit. It kind of come to a conclusion as to why you think Tyson Fury is going to take out the champ in 2 rounds all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying? But I appreciate your input, though. Real talk. Y'all have the right to put any input in there as long as you ain't trolling. It don't matter to me. It's all good conversation to me. But we have a lot of fight fans over here in the US that are absolutely leaning heavy towards Tyson Fury just because they like to hear him talk and they like his personality and pizzazz, machismo. You know what I'm saying? They like how he come in here and puts on a show, but they're not getting that this time around. It was very limited presser. It wasn't high energy, back and forth, jarring between both of them. It was just low key. And Tyson Fury, he needs the first part. Like Tyson Fury, he's that guy who kind of needs, if he's walking in there with a fighter like Deontay, he kind of needs the first half of when they stepped in the ring. Not what he's getting right now. Like what he's getting right now is very quiescent, man. It's like stepping onto an elevator, yo. Like you taking it to the next floor and getting off at the MGM the 22nd of February. It's time to step into the ring. And he just like, damn, something's off about this. Like Deontay Wilder barely said anything. It wasn't as hyped as it was the first time. But y'all gotta take a side. If y'all wanna get in here and cheer Tyson Fury on in California for wearing our nation's colors, imitating Apollo, off Rocky, cheering for him. Okay, so be it. You have the right to cheer, but why just cheer for somebody because for one day you want to reach down in your vocal how you put it, your vocal catalog, and pull out your English accent and lie and tell people, oh yes, for sure. Hey, I'm London. I'm going for Tyson Fury. Yes. I mean, that's the easiest accent to emulate, don't you say? I mean, why my word, how difficult can it be? But today I'm going for Tyson Fury. It's no way, no how it goes any less than 2 rounds, like Fury said. Did you hear his father? You hear John? John said it best. He said, my son is in much better shape. He's coming in 19 stones. And I tell you, it's not even going to be close. If he said it's not going to be close, but the gypsies have spoken. My word, it's going to be a massive upset. You know what I mean? Do you? I mean, come on, don't come with the bullocks. You know what I mean? And man, they just don't want to support Deontay Wilder when him and Tyson Fury is in the same room. Like you have certain freaking fans that would do it, but come on, man. Where did it all go? Are we waiting for somebody different to take over the reign, the ownership of the WBC, because the one that you already see on the throne is just dominating opponents, and you keep using the same analogy? Well, he got that right hand. Anyway, I'll move on to Gary Russell, man. Gary Russell, man, just came off of feeding Yambayar, King Tug, right? And I watched the fight, and Gary Russell is a technical magician when it comes to boxing. I always like I like watching Gary Russell go in there and delegate his boxing authority. The deep lineage that they have, him and his family. It was funny. King Tug said, and I don't know why he said this. He made himself look stupid. You know what I'm saying? If a boxer's gonna go in there with the top name, it just goes to show you some of these neighboring fighters. The first thing they want to do if they go the distance with one of all stars, they want to say, "Oh, they didn't have no power. They didn't have no power." You know what I'm saying? That's Tyson Fury's saving grace with Deontay. That's what King Tug said about Gary Russell. He doesn't have any power. And Gary Russell say, I was strong enough to beat his ass. Gary Russell say, I had the strength to beat him. And he right. I mean, come on, look at the fight between him and Jojo Diaz. Gary Russell Jr. is not a knockout artist. The one that has an even knockout to win ratio is Antoine, the smallest one. The one is 23 years old. I think he's 13-13 right now. 13 wins, 13 knockouts. Gary Russell tell you any time of the day he about it, but he's not using the knockout analogy all the time. He's not stamping that up and say, yeah, it's gonna be a knockout. It's gonna be a knockout. You know, Deontay Wilder can use it because he actually executed, and the plot plays out in that way. His opponents are dropped. You know what I'm saying? The only person to go the distance with him was Tyson Fury, and even him went to the upper room and saw the light. So it comes down to King Tug, and you have these fighters that step in there against these American stars, and the first thing they say, they don't hit that hard. But can you beat them though? Did you beat them in the sport that you was contending in? It's boxing. Did you win the title? No. He outboxed me. I give him that. He outboxed me, but he don't have power though. It's just like Debo walking up, and he looking for, some weight. He wants some necklace. He wants some. When old boy say, when he leave, I'll be talking again. When he here, I shut up. But when he leave, I'll be talking again. I mean, damn. Just go in there and say you lost the fight. Rigondeaux versus Solis. Rigondeaux was taking a substantial amount of shots early on in the fight. And for him to drop down to 118 bantamweight and have the energy that he did in the mid to late rounds against Solis, who was really open, he was wide-eyed, and he was really trying early on to knock Rigondeaux out, because Rigondeaux's like 42 years old. You know what I'm saying? So when Solis couldn't get the knockout, Rigondeaux start pulling out the curriculum. The professor start teaching the student. He starts saying, okay, if you're gonna tell me to turn to the same chapter, and all you want to do is read the title, I'm gonna give you what's inside, because I'm actually reading everything you're doing. And Solis was throwing that power. All he was doing is just coming in with power shots. He wanted to land the right hand, and Rigondeaux was obliging him on the exit with that right hook. I wouldn't even call it a check right hook. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was obliging him with it. Every single time he get into the ropes, Solis will freaking close distance and try to turn up and land some power punches, and he would miss most of the time. Now, early on, he was landing some shots because Rigondeaux was like, I want this guy to kind of dump his clip early. I want him to run out of ammo as the fight goes on. And that's what happened. And Rigondeaux ended up hurting him. And the shot that he threw was solid. Like, Rigondeaux hit him with some, when he did hurt him, he rocked Solis. And it wasn't no just a fluke, like he stumbled. Rigondeaux had sting behind that punch. What's my overall assessment of the fight? It was okay. I know Rigondeaux has stated that he want to face Inoue right now, Monster. I would definitely see that fight. I'm not gonna lie. I would definitely pay to see that fight at bantamweight. I sure will. I mean, I would be interested in seeing Rigondeaux take another fight. But this fight he had with Solis, it was fairly entertaining, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? It was fairly entertaining. I just felt that Solis was so predictable that Rigondeaux, in my opinion, could have did more. He could have made him look worse. He could have really put on a boxing clinic, but Solis had already been hurt. You know what I'm saying? It's like he could have boxed him a lot better instead of playing around, showboating, and both of them having a stare down after the early rounds was expired. Both of them would turn each other and have like an old school put your arms out. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? And, that was a little bit childish for me. Like Rigondeaux's 42 years old, man. Come on, just walk back to your corner, get ready for the next round, and let's get it. But it was cool. It was all right. I'm not gonna lie, it was all right. But besides that, man, Gary Russell Jr. did what he had to do with King Tug, and his words is that he's looking to try to see if Leo Santa Cruz can get that fight. What's going on, Dion? Salute to you, man. He's trying to see if Leo Santa Cruz will check the box and give him that show. He's looking for that showcase. It makes no sense why both of these fighters has been residing in the same division for as long as they have. He's fought Abner Mares twice, a fighter that's pretty much predictable. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Come on with that. Like, he went in there with a fighter that really didn't give anything more than what he did the first time around. But why haven't we seen Gary Russell and Leo Santa Cruz fight? What's going on with that? So you want to move up to do the Mikey Garcia? You want to move up the division? Mikey moved up to 140. You think that's where you want to be? Mikey moved up to 147. You think that's where you want to be? Like, why are you trying to go up here and face Gervonta Davis? And it's nothing official. And, Calvin Ford has made mention that they can contend at 135 or 130. I'm not sure about that, man. Like, if Leo Santa Cruz is trying to move up, is he going to stop at 130 or he going to go up two divisions like Rigo, Garcia, and go to 135? Because if he does go to 135, he's going to be the smaller fighter. Period. We're not talking about a power puncher in Leo Santa Cruz, a power puncher. We're just talking about a volume puncher. If he meets Tank Davis at 130, then Tank has to meet the weight. He has what benefit is it for Leo Santa Cruz to fight Gervonta at 130, junior lightweight? It's really no point. It's really no point. If you want to go up the lightweight division where all the hitters at right now, then do that. When Tank Davis get his situation cleared up, then hopefully they can make the fight. But if not, you already have an opponent, man, that people come out and see that. The Mexican crowd will definitely come out and support Leo Santa Cruz. And the U.S. boxing fans will come out and support Gary Russell Jr. Make that fight, and it would do pretty decent numbers, man. The only reason Gary Russell isn't as popular as he should be is because, he was a fighter that was fighting once a year. Elite, no question. But in his own references, him potentially having hand problems or what have you, he only made cameo appearances, once a year. But now he's trying to fight more times than one time in 2020. He's trying to go several times this year. I don't know if we're just going to see him fight twice this year or potentially 3 times. That would be great. But he did make it clear that he's planning on moving up to 135. He wants Gervonta. He wants all the smoke, basically. He wouldn't mind going in there against Vasily Lomachenko again. He wants all the smoke. So if you're talking about Gervonta Davis and Gary Russell Jr., then Gary Russell Jr., Vasily Lomachenko, really, I think a lot of people want to say Gary Russell and Lomachenko run it back. But then again, you got Tank Davis, who has fans. You know what I'm saying? He has fans. According to where the fight is held, he has fans. But I think Vasily Lomachenko sitting atop the pound for pound list, a lot of people would, pay money to see him and Gary Russell run it back. The only loss Gary Russell has on his ledger, man, is Vasily Lomachenko. That's it. So before I retire, if I was Gary Russell Jr., I don't really put the if I was somebody else, but I'm just saying he would definitely want to get that. He would definitely want to run it back. He said he was extremely hydrated the first time they met. He wasn't in the best of health due to the weight cut. In the Olympics, his amateur day, he had a problem. He blacked out doing the weight cut. So, so it was some issues going on there. But now, reigning as long as he have the second longest reigning WBC champion, active fighter right now in the sport, right behind Deontay Wilder. I mean, why not? But he's not going to be able to get Vasily Lomachenko for a while because, for what I know, May 30th, end of May, you got Teofimo Lopez in there with Vasily Lomachenko for the unified titles. That's a big deal. Know that. That's a big deal. Because I'm definitely going with Gordo. Definitely. I'm definitely going with Teofimo Lopez. Absolutely. There's plenty of lives out there that I say Vasily Lomachenko is overrated in my opinion. And people just look at him and say, look at his resume. Okay, who? You want to talk about Waters? Who? Who we talking about? Luke Campbell? You want to bring a Rigondeaux who moved up 2 weight classes, man? Like who? Salido? No, Salido was fighting dirty that day. Okay. But it's time for Vasily, who I wish never would have vacated that WBC super title, to take the franchise. But I've heard from very high-ranking authority in these promotions, one being Bob Arum, I believe. He said if 2 people should have had the franchise championship, it should have been Saul Canelo Alvarez and Vasily Lomachenko. And I'm saying to myself, like, what has Vasily did outside of 2 gold medals, as he isn't the only one to do it, but what medal has he earned in the professional ranks to say he should be a franchise champion? What lineup on his resume? How many? I mean, I'm talking about, like, what lineup has he became undisputed in a single division yet? I would have liked him to keep the WBC and now collectively would have been the owner of the WBA and WBO. Wait for Teofimo Lopez and Richard Comey. The winner was Teofimo. Now you fight for all the marbles, man, for the undisputed crown in the lightweight championship. Now you have a dilemma that's much more accommodating to the media, to be honest. Because if you're going to say that the franchise champion cannot lose the belt, but yet they can become undisputed if he defeats Teofimo Lopez, but yet if Lopez defeats Vasily Lomachenko, he has to fight for the WBC super title to be considered undisputed. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if that ain't hypocrisy, if that ain't democracy, cackerstocracy, I mean, come on, man. You're going to give a WBC franchise champion the ability not to lose the title. But yet, if someone's contending for the unified titles and contending against that particular champion who is the owner of the franchise belt, if they're the winner, they still have to fight Devin Haney or whoever's going to have the belt to become lightweight undisputed champion. It's not right, man. It's a bit unfair. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. It's a bit unfair for that to happen. Because a franchise champion cannot lose, Suleiman's word. They cannot lose that freaking franchise belt. They have put strict regulations on the designated safekeepers of that crown that they cannot lose the belt. So what those contenders in the lightweight division, as long as Lomachenko would be there, they would be fighting for the super. So if someone wins the super, and just say Devin Haney comes back from injury, and whatever happens with that, because he's supposed to be on recess, it was some talk about potentially Javier Fortuna fighting Luke Campbell, who lost to Vasily Lomachenko for the vacant WBC title. If those two was to fight, then of course when Devin Haney comes back, he will have to fight the winner of that to get his title back. In the meanwhile, there will be an individual, either Vasily Lomachenko or Teofimo Lopez is going to be the unified champion in the lightweight division. But hold up. Teofimo Lopez don't plan on staying in 135 for quite. I mean, he's not going to be down there much longer. He's planning on moving up to 140. So what I was told, from the horse's mouth, that he may not go for the WBC super title if he wins the unified championship. Teofimo may indeed take the unified bragging rights and transition up to 140, because he's really having problems. I've been there. The time I had the opportunity to cover him, he was shaking out. He was shedding pounds late in the AM. So he's been pretty solid on the scales his last couple of fights. But they're adamant. Him and his dad is adamant about moving up to 140. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see how that shit play out, man. I wonder if they're going to designate a franchise champion on the female side of the house. The only, the one female that would definitely be a worthy recipient of that franchise WBC title is Carissa Shields. Point blank. Period. We know the female side of the house do not get that type of love. I know Carissa Shields get that franchise belt. It'll be another medal to her mantle. And at this point in time, what she's been able to accomplish in 10 fights, guess what? She actually deserves, I really don't use the D word like that. But Carissa Shields actually deserves the franchise belt. She does, man. Since you brought it up, President, you should look at somebody as a 3-division champion, 10-0, 2 knockouts. She did what no other male and female was able to do in the shortest period of fights. People are going to criticize her freaking resume, of course, but they can criticize Vasily Lomachenko's resume too. You see how quick Saul Canelo Alvarez got the franchise belt, and then all of a sudden they had to give it to somebody else just to, I don't know, man. So they can be the first two, just to add that, hey, we was the first two. Canelo was the first. Vasily was the second. They had to put them in front of the line, man. I don't know. I don't know why they was so in a rush when Vasily Lomachenko was in the process of unifying the lightweight division. Why did you have to put him in a situation to say, Vasily, guess what? We're thinking about giving you the franchise belt, but you have to vacate the WBC Super. Vasily, okay, say less. I'm vacating. And then they promoted Devin Haney. And Devin Haney caught slack. Shakur Stevenson even said it. He's like, I fought for my title. Facts. He did. And then not until Devin Haney defended his title, then people backed off, fell back, and said, okay, Devin Haney, he a legit champ. All right, cool. But still, they're going to talk about how he got the title in the first place, just like they're going to talk about Charlo. But of course, Charlo has defended his title too. That's where I'm at with that. Seriously, that's where I'm at, man. I don't want to take too much freaking time talking about that situation because it's very political. Boxing is a business, but man, come on, who else is going to get the franchise belt? How long will it take for us to see somebody else get a franchise belt? That's why I asked that question to Deontay Wilder when we was in fight camp that time leading up. They was doing the media day with Showtime, and I was like, I wanted to get his perspective on what he would think about being a franchise champion, because being a franchise champion, it gives you ownership of a crown, but per the regulations and what we're used to seeing in the sport of boxing, per the sanctioning bodies, he basically releases the true power that he had in being the WBC super title holder. You know what I'm saying? Like if he was to vacate his WBC super belt, when you look him up on freaking BoxRec, when you do a Google search as far as the longest reigning WBC champion right now, it's not going to say Deontay Wilder if he becomes franchise champion. It won't say that. There's no way that we're going to see transparency there. This is not a consolidated loan. It's not going to be like he was the WBC super title. Now he's the franchise WBC heavyweight title holder. He's still reigning. It doesn't. I'm curious to see what they're going to say with freaking Vasily Lomachenko, who never even freaking defended his WBC title. He won it, and the vacant title with Luke Campbell, and never even defended it one time. Not once. That's why I'm hoping goddamn Teofimo Lopez go ahead and stun on Lomachenko, because I just think he's been receiving this incredible amount of praise, and he really haven't stepped to super solid competition, man. To be honest, I know a lot of people I don't dislike Vasily Lomachenko. I don't. I'm just saying, like, in the amount of fights that he had and his opponents, I mean, I'm like, come on, bro. You look at the fight with Mariaga, he wore that fight. He took some punishment. Yeah, he got the stop, but I'm just saying he took some punishment. Dion say Eddie Hearn out here fixing fights, and the BBC are investigating Dave Allen. Dave Allen's fight from Saturday. Yeah, I kind of read about that too. Good point. Canelo didn't defend his WBC middleweight either. These fighters, and that's a solid point, man. Like these fighters who are winning these WBC titles, and then they're moving up in weight. They truly not entertaining the weight class that they should have tried to become undisputed. They on a whole different mission. You know what I'm saying? It's all about the money. Really, at the end of the day, you can kind of take this back to what Tyson said when he was being interviewed, and the guy was like trying to freaking compliment him, because you got to do that with Mike. You don't know what Mike you're going to get. He said, oh, this must have been incredible for you to win these titles. And Tyson said, oh, they ain't trash. Title don't mean nothing at the end of the day. It's your family that means everything. You know what I'm saying? And this is kind of how Canelo Alvarez is treating the titles. Like he'll move up, win, vacate, move up, win. We're still trying to see if he's gonna what division he's gonna contend in next. I like Canelo, man. I like what he's doing. If I was in his position, I'd probably be doing the same damn thing. Get as much money as you possibly can, much superstardom, build your brand, so when the time you hang up the gloves, you have residual income that you're able to live off of for the rest of your life. Do what you got to do. Seriously. I'll tell any boxer that. Do what you got to do. And I'm going to make this point, and then I'm going to digress. That's why when I go out here and cover fighters, like I feel that fighters need exposure. Not every fighter wants exposure, but fighters need exposure, especially if they're on that level. And it's good to kind of pay attention to the media that's trying to give you the lens. They're trying to put you out there to give you that extra exposure, because you know we live in a tech era. People are always looking at pictures. You may not like. I would have thought during 20 years in the military, where I was actually in communication, set up TAC networks, to see an era where integrity don't mean anything, uniform don't mean anything. It's all about them looking on your YouTube or your IG and seeing how many freaking likes you got. But you can get a person with likes and be a total asshole. You know what I'm saying? They can be a person that don't even speak to you in person. But some fighters will gravitate to that media all from likes. Why? Because they believe. I'm gonna give you a true statement. Understand what I'm giving you. This is not something that's just, you find in a trash can on Sesame Street. If you all don't understand that it's a way for media outlets to go out here and acquire likes, and even if you look at some of these lives, to be honest, if you see somebody with 50, 60,000 subscribers, but every time they're live, they're only sitting at 400 views, what is that telling you? I have not seen anybody yet. You know who I really seen that don't really cover boxing? I've seen him average like 3,000, 4,000 freaking viewers consistently. Nino Brown, this guy who just talk trash, talk about hoes, talk about parties, talk about hip hop, talk about all that. I done seen him up to like 4,000 views, people watching him at one time. But in the boxing community, it's an annual sport. You see these people with over 50,000 freaking subscribers. But when it comes time for them to do lives every day, they're not averaging 1,000 views. I'm talking about people watching their content in the moment. I know my views are low right now. It's all good. I'm not talking about me, but I'm just saying you got to look at the duration of the channel, how long it's been established, everything. Where are all these viewers? I would be more appreciative of my channel if I was talking boxing and MMA and I have 1,000 to 1,500 people tuned in to what I had to say. And I was sitting at 3,000 subscribers. You know what I'm saying? Right now I'm at 7,000. I would be very happy if 3,000 people was tuned in. But you have people that will look at your channel and say, you have a fighter rather. A fighter will check your channel out, check your Facebook out, see how many likes you got, and kind of make the determination on whether they want to give you the press. And it's just crazy to think that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm an old head. Like, man, I'm 50 to the hip. It's just a lot of ways I do business different. Like, when I hear fighters that I truly want to support, that I really want to give media, I think they're very talented. You'll find some fighters trying to say you're a dick rider. And I'm like, you dumb as hell for that. Especially my people. You can't sit up here and say media dick rider when they out here hungry. You want to look at all the freaking motivational videos and say, I want it bad as I can breathe. But yet when you got somebody out here that's done low crawled in the trenches, been to combat, that knows what hard work, sacrifice with the family, sacrifice the relationship with my kids, going on deployment months at a time, coming home and your kid changed, growing up. Military families are the worst families because the person that's wearing the uniform sacrificed not only for their country, but they sacrifice their family too. And a lot of us that's in the military, our families aren't close knit, because if you was in a unit like 03 infantry or special forces or a unit that demand that you deployed, guess what? You're going to have to suck it up. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to suck it up. And I know that was a little bit off topic, but I just hear people too many times looking at channels and they'll say some stuff like, so and so kissing ass, he's doing this. At 50? If you talk to anybody who know me, never. It's just called discipline. It's just called going out here getting the material and content. I got to go out here and get the content. So why I hear fighters always using that term is just a new era type of thing. And you want to show them love. You want to show them freaking that you're doing your job. You being motivated to go out here and get it. But then they'll sit up here and tell somebody else to my so-and-so dick ride. How do you even consider that to come out your mouth? It's stupid. But anyway, I just had to get that out there because I'm not from that cloth, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm from a different cloth. Don't put up all these motivational, inspirational speeches about working hard. And then when you get media like World Combat Sports that want to work hard, that's going out here paying for their own shit, writing articles on fighters, videos, and all that, giving shout out to the supporters and the boxing fans that tune into the channel. And then they say, oh man, so-and-so's a dick rider. He's an ass kisser. And I'll tell you to your face, know that. What else we got to talk about? That's pretty much what I had to say about the fight week that just happened. You know, shout out to the Russell family. I call them the first family of boxing, but shout out to them. Did an outstanding job. We do have some fights that's coming up. I know we got Malik Hawkins that's back on deck. He's going to be headlining this time. And then, of course, I just wanted to touch on Tank Davis. All right. Hey, so what's going on? It's an Our People thing. All of our boxers need exposure. Ryan Garcia and Caleb Plant this weekend. Hey, appreciate that. You know, I would have spoken on Ryan Garcia and Caleb Plant if they was really like, I know Caleb Plant is facing somebody that a lot of people don't know. How do I say this? Fegan Boots. How do I say about Fegan Boots? Fegan Boots, like I told you before in my other live, he's facing Caleb Plant, right? And in that division and in boxing in general, Caleb Plant, I like the dude, man. How slick he is, how reserved and crafty Caleb Plant go in there and fight. Fegan Boots reminds me of Rocky Marciano a lot, like Jake LaMotta. He gives me that vibe, man. Like he's a stocky fighter, looks tough, looks like he can take some punishment. You know, kind of reminds me of a Roberto Duran type of Julio Cesar Chavez. You know, he kind of has this durability, resilience. I don't know what he's gonna have to, I don't know how he's gonna come out versus Caleb Plant if Caleb start to land some shots on him. I don't know how he's gonna fare. To be honest, it's some video out there of him. But Fegan Boots is in with a very crafty fighter like Caleb Plant. And check this. We can say the same thing about Caleb Plant. Fegan Boots looks strong. So we're not sure how Caleb Plant is going to be able to sustain the power from Fegan Boots. But right now, Caleb Plant is one of the good fighters out there. Very smooth. Really disciplined with his technique. And he showed that in his last fight. He finished the fight with ease, like he's supposed to. That guy was all bulky and everything. And he really tried to bully Caleb Plant. And Caleb Plant shut him down just like a low wattage bulb. Lights out. Done. Over. Early night, go home. You know what I'm saying? So, and plus, him losing his daughter, I can kind of relate to Caleb Plant in that perspective because I lost a son almost similar to what he had to go through. I don't talk about it as much, but my first son, because all I ever asked God was for a son. And he gave me my first son. And I wanted, being a young father, right? Wasn't even 20 years old, like that's all I ever wanted. And then my mom, being he was the first grandchild, my mom wanted to see him. And I was like, no, I want to keep him till he grow a little bit older so I can know that, I can keep him safe. I can provide that protection for him. That's what I thought when I had my first son in the military. And I was still young in the game in the military too. I didn't know anything about being a father. And this has nothing to do with my mother, anything. There's no way that I'd be selfish enough to say that. But I let him go home to visit grandma. And, some days went by. So I was like, hey, I'm coming home to pick him up because I was missing him. So I'm sitting in Pep Boys. And this guy never met. This white guy came over from, and to the hallway. He said, hey, you Scotty? I said, yeah. He said, you got a phone call. I was like, now this explains how old I am, right? Like, you saying why didn't you have a mobile phone? I had a phone in my car, man. Like, mobile phones back in the day was like holding a brick. You either pay for the phone in the car or you pay for the big one. And it costs a lot of money. And it came in a big ass power pack. But anyway, I get on the phone and my girl's crying and stuff, the baby's mother, and she's saying that my son is passed. Ain't about to pass, he's passed. So I'm asking, I was like, how did he pass away? Like, what is this about? Like, I'm getting my car tuned up at Pep Boys to drive down to the A to pick him up, and he's going. Come to find out, I get home, and Pops get on the phone, and he said he's passed. Nobody's telling me how he passed though. Like, I was like, what's going on, man? Like, how did he die? I need to know. My mom couldn't tell me because she was crying too bad, and Dad, he was like a bit insensitive for my take. So at that point in time, I'm hot. So I pick my stuff up and I drive all the way from Virginia to the ATL. And I'm not gonna lie, I probably cried the entire trip. That's real talk. I probably cried the whole way because that was my first son. When he left me, I'm up here talking to the little man. I say, man, I'm coming down there to get you. Don't worry about it. Granted, I was a young Marine with a kid, never been taught how to take care of a kid, and me and him was living in an apartment. You know what I'm saying? I learned on the go. But when my stomach was empty, his was full. I used to allow the chow hall workers. They used to give me food because I wasn't married, but I had my son. They was like allow me to give takeouts, and that's all I had. Like in my apartment, it was just a bed, and that's it. I didn't even have a kitchen table, nothing. It just used to be me and him. And then when his mother came over, you know what I'm saying? So I get down to the A, and I listen a little bit off, but I'm just relating Caleb Plants. And the reason why I'm doing it because the last time I was in MGM, man, it's just a media guy that was there. And Caleb just got married. And I guess he didn't know the extent of Caleb losing a child. He said, now y'all can go have some kids. And Caleb wasn't feeling it. He turned his back, walked away. That particular guy messed up my interview with Caleb at that time. He had an attitude with everybody. And I don't blame him. But anyway, I get down there and I find out where the funeral home is. And I walk in there and I said, hey, I'm the father. I want to see my kid. And the guy said, well, you're going to have to wait because he's in the process of, the process and what they do with bodies and everything. I said, listen, bro, I just drove down here from Virginia. If you don't bring my son up here to me, we're going to have a serious problem. He said, hold on. I understand. Hold on. So they went back in the back and they brought my son out. And it's just something that really tears the hell out of you when you see a table rolling out with a white sheet. Like, oh man, it's the deepest, darkest place that you can ever imagine, man. Knowing that you have a loved one up under there that's deceased. And they brought the table out, and the lady pulled the sheet back. My apology, man. The lady pulled the sheet back. I see my son laying there like he's asleep. I can see what they was actually doing, the what they do to dead bodies, embalmment and all that, because he had to prep him for his funeral. And I saw the cut on the backside of his head, and he was just like the way that if he was sleeping in the bed after drinking a bottle of milk, he was just sitting there. I mean, he was just laying there, and I was just like talking to him as if he was gonna wake up. Like I couldn't process it. Like that was my first kid. I couldn't process it, man. Like I just saw him laying there like he was asleep, man. Just innocent. And come to find out that he had just had a checkup before I took him down there, and they say he had a heart tumor. I'm like, how he got a heart tumor? I'm like, how he has a heart tumor? And I just got him checked. He said, well, he was a pretty big baby, and he was growing fast. So, he was going to be a big boy. So I guess the tumor and what he was eating, it was causing him to have expedited growth. Because he was a big boy, he was heavy, and they say he had a heart tumor that closed off one of the arteries to his heart, and he started basically coughing strangely in mom's house, and she was like, okay, maybe something stuck in his throat. Let me give him some milk. And then he started turning blue. So they called the ambulance. And the table that I grew up eating on as a kid, my son passed on because the ambulance had him on the table trying to revive him, and they couldn't revive him. So I mean, I can relate to what Caleb Plant is going through with losing a kid the way he did, and especially your first child. So, I was going to share that because that was my first and would be my oldest child to date. You know what I'm saying? And I was just looking at some pictures of him today. I actually got pictures of him, at the funeral in his casket and everything. Like it was tough. But yeah, Caleb Plant going in there with this fight against Fegan Boots, man, it's gonna be something that I don't think is gonna be like a super win for Caleb Plant that people are just gonna become his fans even more if he beat Fegan Boots. But if Fegan Boots defeat Caleb Plant, people gonna know who he is. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna say, okay, this guy's for real. Muscular type dude, bulky a little bit, like Caleb's last opponent. And of course, he has everything to gain in this fight. Caleb has everything to lose. And Caleb is very much close to trying to unify a title in that division. He told me straight up he wants David Benavidez. He don't like him at all. You know what I'm saying? So maybe we can see him and David Benavidez fight. I think that'll be a very, very good fight. Very good fight. Ryan Garcia. I saw a post today, social sensation or a future superstar. And that's true. Like Ryan Garcia is very active on the bag. Like Ryan Garcia put on some nice videos. But seeing him fight, how erect he boxes, and just try to land those power punches, that's not going to work all the way to a championship. Not in his division. I just don't see it happening. Like Ryan Garcia fights almost like he's making a video, like he's on a reaction bag. If you look at him on the reaction bag, he's quick. His punches are swift. The timing is there. But when you're in there with an opponent that's moving around, are you going to abandon your jab? You know what I'm saying? Are you going to stand straight up and take those punches and try to land, a counter because you have speed? Are you going to try to be that fighter? It's a lot to be determined about Ryan Garcia on him stepping up and fighting some of the top tier opponents. I know Ryan Garcia called out Gervonta Davis. You know what I'm saying? I know he's been trying to call out the big names. I'm curious to see how Ryan Garcia's chin is. What grade can we give Ryan Garcia's chin? Can he handle the punches that Yuriorkis Gamboa took from Gervonta Davis? You know what I'm saying? Devin Haney, in my opinion, I know he has knockouts. That'll be a good fight. But, I'm not saying Devin Haney is a knockout artist. Seriously. Who in that division? Like, Ryan Garcia isn't ready for Vasily Lomachenko. Definitely ain't ready for Teofimo Lopez. I don't think Ryan Garcia is ready for Richard Comey, even though Richard Comey is sitting in 11th right now for losing to Teofimo Lopez. You know what I'm saying? I don't even think he's ready for Richard Comey, to be honest. So it's the jury's still out on Ryan Garcia. The way he fights, standing up tall, the way he does, and box like he's making a social media video. I'm curious to see how he's going to do with a highly skilled fighter that's ranked at the top, and that can deliver that punishment. I want to see, can Ryan Garcia go through the storm? And I don't know if you all heard. It just crossed my mind again. I know I had this on the front of my tongue earlier, that the WBC is basically talking about dropping the amount of rounds from 12 to 10. You know what I'm saying? They're talking about dropping the rounds from 12 to 10 for the safety of the fighters. It's really no evidence to say taking away 2 rounds. Like, they used to be at 15, now they down to 12. Now they're talking about taking them down to 10. The only thing this is going to do is cause fighters to be a bit more reckless and just go all out, because they only go in 10 rounds. He said the only time 12 rounds will be equitable is in a championship fight. But he's thinking about just saying, okay, all fights will be 10 rounds unless it's a championship fight. And it's good that he's making changes for the safety of the sport. But when it comes to the fighters that's passing, it's a specific reason on why they passed. And every reason is different. You know what I'm saying? Like Dadashev, every reason is different. Buddy McGirt begged him, plead, to stop the fight because he was taking too much punishment. And he still died. I mean, the sport is a crucial sport. Just so happened Donna Stevenson was able to come out his coma. But man, I was kind of like in disbelief hearing that certain people were saying that Adonis Steven got what he deserved because he used to be a pimp. I mean, the world is savage for this man to go in here and be a champion, defeated, has a family, and you want to bring up the way he used to treat women, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? You want to bring up his pastime. It's crazy, man. Yeah, seriously, it's a crazy world we live in. I tell people all the time, don't believe in hell, because right now, what we living at right now is a perfect example that you should understand that this is considered to be that. I'll stick wholeheartedly to that. Show me somebody that came back from hell. Show me somebody in hell. Where we at right now is that. All the viruses, the deaths, and everything else, that's where we at right now. All the killings, that's where we at right now. Period. The only thing I can attest to, like I told you before, and I'm about to drop this live. I appreciate everybody that tuned in, real talk. But the only thing I can attest to, real talk, is when I was in that motorcycle accident, and I told you that I touched down a wheelie and was coming around a curve. And you're talking about somebody who would drag a curve easy. And I just saw that white truck. I saw the light. This real talk. I saw the light, man. Like the last thing that I can say, I saw that white truck. I say, this is going to be bad. And I can't tell you what happened after that. I saw the light. I was out. I saw the freaking light. And then I happened to come to my consciousness. But the inside of my thighs was freaking like, man, they was extremely bruised. I had a bubble right in my groin, like right to the right of my groin from hitting the handlebars, I guess. Like you don't know how you clench onto anything when you're about to die. You know what I'm saying? My thighs, like the gas tank, the left and right gas tank of my bike was crushed on both sides. And the guy who picked up my bike said it was because you was squeezing them with your thighs, and on impact, your thighs were squeezing, and that's what happened to the gas tank. So, but I can honestly say that hell ain't supposed to be a light. It doesn't have any type of freaking light to it. It's supposed to be dark. You're supposed to burn forever. But when I was knocked out, I seen the light, man. I was like, I seen the light. I was unconscious, knocked out. And I came to. And I was in bad condition. So that's the only thing I can talk about as far as that goes. But hopefully these fighters, we don't have any other fighters that's facing death in the ring, because boxing fights MMA. MMA is a lower grade of repercussions than boxing because of the size of the gloves. Because you can only punch so hard without any protection. Like for bare knuckles, you can only punch so hard. Bare knuckles right now is only 5 rounds. But mixed martial arts is 3 to 5 rounds, 5 minutes. And that's with 4-ounce gloves on. And even with 4-ounce gloves, you still have to make sure you're placing your punch. All the strikes are not designated to a single point of entry and impact like it is for boxing. You get hit in sparring with freaking 12-ounce, 16-ounce gloves. I mean, come on, man. You're going to feel that. And that's wear and tear on your brain. Yeah, real talk, man. Real talk, for real. Let me get to the comments. Garcia will fight Linares. Yeah, I went across that. And once again, we're talking about this Jorge Linares, who went up there and fought Vasily Lomachenko and was dropped in the 11th round. You know what I'm saying? Luke Campbell, Pedraza. If Garcia fight Luke Campbell, it'll be a pretty good one. But like I said, Javier Fortuna may be in the slot for Luke Campbell. Jose Pedraza, of course, it's always going to be comparison that with Tank Davis and Vasily Lomachenko. Tank Davis, he stopped him, I think, in the 5th round. And he went the distance with Vasily. And Ray Beltran, he was tailor-made for Richard Comey. He wasn't going to do that much movement, which he didn't. It allowed Richard Comey to look very good to the lead up with his fight with Teofimo Lopez. And I was telling people, I say, Beltran was the perfect opponent for freaking Richard Comey. And that's why he went in there and got stopped versus Teofimo. Like Teofimo was a different beast. He was going to be able to have different movement, mobility, and he had better boxing skills than Beltran. And Beltran, you know, how long did he hold the title? Anyway, Lee Shelby, guys like that. I hear you. I hear you. Matias will be on Wilder's undercard. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the lineup because from what I was hearing, to get on that undercard, oh, it was a nice little ticket now for the fighters. It was a nice little, ticket to be on freaking Wild, Wild and Fury 2 undercard. So it should be very interesting, man. Seriously, seeing these young hitters come up, especially Ryan Garcia, who has such a large Hispanic following, it's going to be interesting to see can he be that superstar. Because nobody can tell me right now, nobody can convince me that Ryan Garcia goes in there and defeats Gervonta Davis. I don't care how many videos you make of speed. You all have to understand something. Gervonta may have knocked out Usyk Gamboa in the 12th round, but it's the fact that he was absolutely the lion on the hunt. Gervonta Davis was learning in that fight. That was the first time he was taken into deep waters for a championship fight like that. But he just didn't sit over there in the shallow waters and say, you know what, I'm exhausted. Let the hyenas come in there and freaking eat him. You know what I'm saying? Because Gamboa was there hungry. He wasn't there to lose, right? So when Gervonta took some rounds off, Gamboa made him pay. He said, I know you taking rounds off. I'm going to land my shots. And he did. He landed they was in the clinch. He landed 3-punch combinations on Tank Davis. Hey, listen. Davis was still going in for the kill. When he finished him off, it was brutal, man. Like what he hit Gamboa was solid, hard punches in the 12th round. And that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to get the kill. And he ended up getting the kill. A lot of people was dogging Tank Davis out for that, man. But I was there. I was watching the fight, man. He was going from the start to finish. He was trying to murder Gamboa and get him up out of there early. And lastly, him being locked up. I know a lot of people saying Floyd was riding bikes with Devin Haney. Look, Floyd isn't Gervonta's father, yo. Like, come on, man. Gervonta is 25 years old, man. He's old enough with a kid to do and make grown man decisions. I know it's a maturity that we go through at that age. I know I did a lot of dumb stuff, but I'm just saying Gervonta Davis is old enough to understand what he's doing. You know what you do. And for him to go over there with all those cameras for a lady that whatever the details are internal to why he snatched her up the way he did. Those fighters on that level, man, that has money in the bank, they feel some way different than what we would do before we step up there and do that. Real talk. Gervonta, he probably felt less freaking guilty. It wasn't that much optimism for him to go over there and think twice before he snatched her up by the collar. He said, oh, man, I know I'm going to get in trouble for this. I don't care. And then I tell people all the time, look at Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor was punching an old dude in the pub, throwing a dolly truck, came in there with his boy Artem Lobov and some of his training partners and some dudes from Ireland, and threw a freaking metal object at a bus full of fighters, injuring several fighters on that bus. You're talking about Conor McGregor taking a fan's phone and smashing it, jumping over the Bellator cage and pushing the referee, getting into a melee fight after Khabib has subbed him in the 4th round. Come on, man. Has Gervonta Davis, I'm not making up excuse, but Has Gervonta Davis even equaled that? I know he's been in trouble several times, but seriously, like Conor McGregor was off the chain, and now he's trying to repair his image. Gervonta Davis, he's gonna have to pay the pipe. You know, he has an arraignment coming up, or whatever, to see what's gonna happen. And of course, if it's dependent on her, I don't think she's gonna testify because it was said that he allegedly threw a strike when they was back in the back. But if it's up to her, the victim, will she step up and testify? We don't know that, man. We don't know what the hell she's gonna, how much money he's supplying her and support. We don't know what's going on over there in Baltimore with their whole arrangement that they got. We just don't know. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Gervonta may have much less concern than we would as just average civilians without the zeros in the account as he does when it comes to a situation where walking up, cameras rolling, and snatch the mother of your kid up like a dude and you're a fighter. If it would have been anybody else, it wouldn't have been that bad. But it's Gervonta Davis, 3-time world champion, snatching up the baby, the mother of his child, and walking her out aggressively. Not a good look. Absolutely not a good look, man. That's just not a good look all the way around. Real. It's just not a good look. So that's all I got, man. I'm about to jump off here. I got stuff to take care of, but I try not to get off track. But I know when I heard the news about Caleb Plant, yeah, I said I can relate to that. And I didn't even mention I was so broke. I was extremely broke. I had to get a loan to pay for my kid's funeral. Like, you don't even know what life insurance about. I remember going up there to an organization I'm not going to mention that I donated to. Like, they out there telling you, oh, donate to so-and-so. They always help veterans out in a time of need. I'm up here donating, and I'm freaking broke, barely making money. And I go ask them for funeral expenses. And this is on everything. I don't even say that either. This is on everything. This guy told me, let's sit down and run the numbers on, how many bills you got and stuff like that. So we did that, right? He said, what rank are you? I told him my rank. He said, so you don't have any family members you can ask? And then that's when the gunny behind me grabbed me. He said, hey, go out. Go out for a second. Let me talk to him. And that's why I tell people, like, the military is quite different, right? It's just not, it's different in a way that you have white and black to defend one another at points. And that gunny who went in on that other guy who was white, he was white. And he dug hard. Like, I thought they was going to start moving furniture in there. But he's like, that man is coming in here. You can tell he's unaware of what's going on. I'm trying to ask for a loan before I actually go down to Atlanta. And he tells me, can I ask a family member? And the gunny told me to step outside, and he chewed him out. He said, you have so many freaking military service members donating to this group. And you're going to tell this man the money that he put in is not good. Your money ain't good, but he's donating. He put it on the sheet that he's donating to you all, and you still ask him he can't go to his family and get a loan. Yeah, man. Dirty, grimy. Yeah, but it was a lesson learned, though. Real talk. It was a lesson learned. The whole funeral expenses. When your kid is born, you need to get life insurance on that kid. Seriously. Just because your kid is not even 1 year old, he or she passed, their funeral is not cheap. You got to pay for the plot, the casket, everything. It's not cheap. You got to pay for the services of the funeral home, the embalmment, all that. All that, man. Man, y'all know what it is. I appreciate everybody for stopping through. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on IG, man. I ain't just saying this out of routine. Hey, I need for you all to pass the word about World Combat Sports, man. I'm definitely gonna get back on here tomorrow. I really wanted to touch bases on the aftermath and kind of give you a little bit more deeper analytics as to the Jon Jones fallout and what's going on in the UFC with the decision of him and Dominic Reyes. A lot of people are saying the same thing I was saying, that Jon Jones lost. But from what I'm finding out, that it was a judge who really wasn't even paying attention to the fight. And he was one of the judges who had already made a poor decision earlier in the card at another fighter. And he was the same one who scored 4-1 for Jon Jones. But Joe Rogan was pretty much saying that he isn't paying attention to the fight when it was actively in and around. He wasn't even really paying attention to the fighters, which they supposed to. And, of course, that could have had some influence on the decision unless he already had predetermined who was going to win. And like I went over yesterday, that was a big deal. You know what? Jon Jones should have, he should be 25 and freaking 2 right now. He should. I know a lot of people saying, oh, definitely Reyes won the first 2 rounds. Jon Jones won 4th and the 5th, and the 3rd round could have went either way. No, Jon Jones went in for a takedown in the 3rd round, and he didn't get it for a reason. He knew he was behind on the card, so he wanted to go in for a takedown so he can snatch the round away from Reyes. He wasn't able to get the takedown, but he did go in there and turn on the gas in the 4th and 5th. That's all I got. Be sure to turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports.